Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved Ranga. We are now on page 452, the last paragraph, beginning with the sentence, "Thus the mind's imaginations."
Thus, the mind's imaginations are not purely and radically illusory. They proceed on the basis of its experience of actualities, or at least set out from that are variations upon actuality, or they figure as the maybes or the might be's of the infinite. What could be if other truths had manifested, if existing potentialities had been otherwise arranged, or other possibilities than those already admitted become potential. So, big sentence, we'll have to look at it phrase by phrase.
Very interesting also.
Yeah. So, first of all, he's saying that when you are imagining anything, okay, you can even imagine
a unicorn. A unicorn.
A unicorn, or a what is it called? A half man, half woman, half fish.
Yes, right. He mentions that half.
I forget the word. Okay. Anyway, so or anything, or a human being flying in the air. Okay. Now it has become possible also. But anyway, so he's saying that they proceed, the imaginations right then when you are thinking may not be realities. Okay, they may not be realities. Okay, I am thinking now that I should be able to go in a flying car up to New York in 1 hour. So that's an imagination. But is it absolutely a falsehood? That's the question. It might become a reality in future, depending on many things. So, depending on many things, he is giving us the list of all those things. Okay? So, they proceed on the basis of its experience of actualities. So, I have proceeded on a car which is an actuality, and going to New York also is an actuality. I am combining the two and coming to an imagination. That's what he's saying. Okay, so based on the experience of actualities, or at least set out from that, are variations upon actuality, because the car is not flying at present, but is almost at the point of becoming a reality. Okay, or a variations upon actuality, or they figure as maybe or might be of the infinite. What could be if other truths had manifested, if existing potentialities had been otherwise arranged, or other possibilities than those already admitted become potential. So, in future all these things could become possible, depending on the conditions in the physical world. That's what he's saying. So,
wonderful.
In any way, my imaginations are always a combination of things that always exist in the physical world. I can't think of anything that does not exist in the physical world. That's what he's saying. Okay. So, moreover, through this faculty, what is the faculty? Imagination. Moreover, this faculty, forms and powers of other domains than that of the physical actuality communicate with our mental being. So, there are possibilities in the higher worlds, okay, and those are communicating with us all the time. We may not be aware of them, but they are trying to communicate with us.
But would some of them be like Da Vinci's
Exactly.
ideas?
Exactly. Da Vinci's idea of flying in the air with a heavier than air machine, it became a reality later on. Okay? And powers of other domains than that of the physical actuality communicate with our mental being. This is going on all the time, but we are not aware of it. Even when the imaginations are extravagant or take the form of hallucinations or illusions, they proceed with actuals or possibles for their basis.
Interesting.
So, he is saying even hallucinations cannot be absolutely total unreality. It is unreal in the sense that it is not existing at present or in your immediate environment, but it's a combination of possibles or actualities or either of them or both together in your imagination.
So it could be imagination in dreams?
Yes, dreams also. Dreams are not imaginations. Imagination necessarily means you are awake fully.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Whereas it could be also in dreams, yes. Okay. So, they proceed with actuals or possibles for their basis. The mind creates a figure of a mermaid.
A mermaid.
That's the word we were looking for.
There's the word.
Okay. The mind creates a figure of a mermaid, but the fantasy is composed of two actualities put together in a way that is outside the earth's normal potentiality. What are the two things? A fish and a woman. So those are there, we are combining them into a mermaid which does not exist at present in the physical world. Okay. So, angels, griffins, chimeras are constructed on the same principle. Okay. Sometimes the imagination is a memory of former actualities, as in the mythical figure of a dragon. Sometimes it's a figure of a happening that is real or could be real on other planes or in other conditions of existence. So this is very interesting what he is saying. In fact, it is very striking what he is saying. Sometimes the imagination is a memory of former actualities, as in the mythical figure of a dragon.
The mastodon.
The mastodon, but mastodon we know that existed, because we know that we can rebuild the skeletal form.
But we know the dinosaur existed also.
Pardon?
The dinosaur also existed.
But that's because we can actually make the skeletal
Reconstruct,
form, we
yeah.
can rebuild. But the dragon is a very interesting thing, because a dragon is a fire-breathing animal. So he is saying it's a imagination of a memory of former actualities. Unless he means by a dragon something that is not fire-breathing.
Yes, yes. Could be.
So this is very interesting what he is saying. Normally when we understand a dragon is a fire-breathing animal.
Yeah, but he calls it a mythical figure.
Yes. So this is very striking what he is saying. In other words, he is telling you very frankly, openly, that the dragon did exist at one time. A fire-breathing animal.
Yes.
Is that absolutely unimaginable? No, it is not. I'll tell you why. Because the body, there is a electrical charge in the body. All the nerves, they function on the basis of biocurrents. Okay? And sometimes this, we have a thermostat built in, a biological thermostat that does not allow the temperature to go below a certain level and above a certain level. But this mechanism goes wrong sometimes, and the temperature in the body can rise to a level which is higher than the normal. And there is this very unusual but absolutely a factual phenomena of what is called spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous combustion. The temperature rises so high in the body that it burns itself to ashes in 10 to 15 minutes. This is a fact.
Is it?
So, if that is possible,
I've
yes,
not heard of
you
this.
never heard of it.
No.
You check your internet, you will see that it's a fact. It's called spontaneous combustion.
Yes.
And so, if that is possible, why can't in former times a dragon have a fire-breathing animal? It's possible. And also we know that there are points in the body which heat up very much. Okay? Like the armpits, for instance, and the groin, the temperature is much higher there than normal. Okay? And if you are sometimes, I have seen reports in the newspapers which said that if you are wearing nylon or something, okay, you're wearing nylon, it can catch fire.
Oh.
So this sort of thing can happen. We must not forget that heat is there in the body in the form of energy, electrical energy, and that can go wrong. We also know that electricity exists in other animals. For instance, the electric eel. If you touch it, you will get a tremendous shock. So, what Srinath is saying is very interesting. He is confirming to you that the dragon is not something mythical. It's a memory of a past actuality. It's fantastic.
Yes. Whoa.
I've never come across this anywhere else in Sri Lanka. He's saying that for the first time here so clearly. Okay? Sometimes it's a figure of a happening that is real or could be real on other planes or in other conditions of existence. Okay, so even the illusions of the maniac are founded on an extravagant misfitting of actuals, as when the lunatic combines himself, kingship and England and sits in imagination on the throne of the Plantagenet is the French word. I don't know how you pronounce it in English.
Plantagenets.
Plantagenets, okay. In Plantagenet is actually French, okay. So Plantagenets and the Tudors. So he is combining himself, kingship and England, and coming up with his imagination, which is he is sitting on the throne.
Of the maniac.
A maniac. So even that maniac is not absolutely unreal. There are three elements there which are real. But he has miscombined them. So I'm just using the word miscombination, misplacement, misuse, misunderstanding, misapplication. That's the next sentence, sorry.
Yes, yes.
Again, when we look into the origin of mental error, we find normally that it's a miscombination, misplacement, misuse, misunderstanding, or misapplication of elements of experience and knowledge. Okay? So, you can experience and knowledge you can combine and come to something imaginary, or you can also misplace, okay, or misapplication of elements of experience and knowledge.
Or misuse even. Misuse.
So,
interesting that he has so many M's
yes,
in a row.
that's
huh?
right.
Beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah. Miscombination, misplacement, misuse, misunderstanding or misapplication of elements of experience. Okay, so and knowledge. Imagination itself is in its nature a substitute for a truer consciousness's faculty of intuition of possibility. So, imagination is a very powerful tool. With your imagination, you can do many things. Okay? So, he is saying imagination is in nature a substitute. At our level, it's a substitute. Okay? And in the higher realms, you don't need imagination because you are seeing the truth.
A mother tells us in the flowers that it's very powerful, but be careful of imagination.
Yeah. So that's it. So imagination itself is in its nature a substitute for a truer consciousness's faculty of intuition of possibility. As the mind ascends towards the truth consciousness, this mental power becomes the truth of imagination, which brings the color and light of the higher truth into the limited adequacy or inadequacy of the knowledge already achieved and formulated, and finally, in the transforming light above it, gives place wholly to higher truth powers, or itself turns into intuition and inspiration. The mind, in that uplifting, ceases to be a creator of illusions and an architect of error. So, error and delusion can come at the lower levels, but you have to use imagination, which is a a degradation of intuition from a higher level, he is saying. Okay? But what he is saying now is that when you go into the higher level, in that uplifting, see this imagination disappears. You don't need imagination because you are seeing the truth. Okay, so and an architect better. Mind then is not a sovereign creator of things, non-existent or erected in a void. This is a very categorical statement telling you that the illusions, the Mayavada's philosophy of the world being unreal is not possible. That's what he's saying. What the mind creates, okay, so mind then is not a sovereign creator of things, non-existent or erected in a void. He is challenging the Mayavada philosophy. It is an ignorance trying to know. It's an ignorance trying to know. Okay. Its very illusions start from a basis of some kind and are the results of a limited knowledge or a half ignorance. So when you say that the physical world is non-existent, it's an ignorance and you are deluded, because the mind is not creating anything which is non-existent things it cannot create. That's what he's saying very clearly. Okay? Mind is an instrument of the cosmic ignorance. And what is ignorance? Ignorance is the power of knowledge to reduce itself and to limit itself. So ignorance is a power. Ignorance is not something negative. It's a power to reduce itself. That's ignorance. So, but it does not seem to be or does not act like a power or an instrument of a cosmic illusion. It's a seeker and discoverer or a creator or would-be creator of truths, possibilities and actualities, and it would be rational to suppose that the original consciousness and power from which mind must be a derivation is also a creator of truths, possibilities and actualities, not limited like mind, but cosmic in its scope, not open to error, because free from all ignorance, a sovereign instrument or a self-power of a supreme omniscience and omnipotence and eternal wisdom and knowledge. We'll have a look at this very carefully, what he's saying. He is telling you first very clearly, mind is not a creator of unreal things. Mind is then not a sovereign creator of non-existent or erected in a void. It is not creating illusions. Okay? But it's a half knowledge. Mind is an instrument of the cosmic ignorance. Now, it does not seem to be or does not act like a power or an instrument of a cosmic illusion. Okay? It's a seeker and discoverer or a creator of it's a seeker and discoverer or a creator or would-be creator of truths, possibilities, actualities. That's why it can imagine. And it would be rational to suppose that the original consciousness and power from which mind must have been a derivation is also a creator of truths, possibilities and actualities, not limited like mind, but cosmic in scope, not open to error, because free from all ignorance, a sovereign instrument or a self-power of the supreme omniscience and omnipotence and eternal wisdom and knowledge. Srimad uses very difficult words, but what he is saying basically is, mind is a fallen and degraded, diminished replica of the supermind. So, if it is not capable of producing non-existent things, the origin from where it has come, that is even more capable of producing only real things and not unreal things. That's what he is saying. In other words, mind can go wrong, but the supermind cannot go wrong, it is only creating real things. This in philosophy in Srebdo's way, the power to create forms is Maya. Maya is the power to create forms. This power at the supramental level is absolutely real and it creates real forms. But like everything else, there is a law of diminution and degradation. The one becoming the many become degraded and diminished. So exactly in the same way, Maya also gets diminished and starts becoming half-truth. And so you get the impression that at the mental level when you go to the self, that you are seeing an untruth. Actually you are not, but that's the impression that one gets. Because Maya also has become the lower Prakriti. The higher Prakriti Maya is absolutely producing real forms. But because the mind is an instrument of ignorance, it is seeing things which is defective. That's what he's saying. This then is the dual possibility that arises before us. There is, we may suppose, an original consciousness and power, creative of illusions and unrealities, with mind as its instrument or medium in the human and animal consciousness, so that the differentiated universe we see is unreal, a fiction of Maya, and only some indeterminable and undifferentiated absolute is real. Okay? So he is saying there are two possibilities for you. The first one, he is giving you the philosophy of the Mayavada. Okay? There is an absolute reality at the higher level, but in the lower level, when you are there in the physical world, you are seeing unreal forms. So this is one possibility. Or there is, we may equally suppose, that's the second possibility. Or there is, we may equally suppose, an original, a supreme or a cosmic truth consciousness, creative of a true universe, but with mind acting in that universe as an imperfect consciousness, ignorant, partly knowing, partly not knowing, a consciousness which is, by its ignorance or limitation of knowledge, capable of error, misrepresentation, mistaken or misdirected development from the known, of uncertain gropings towards the unknown, of partial creations and buildings, a constant half position between truth and error, knowledge and nations. Huge sentence, and as usual, Srandha is very complicated, so we have to see what he is saying. He is saying, if there is anything at all to be considered in Mayavada, okay, it is this. I have got two choices, I have to make a choice between the two. The first is, there is an absolute truth at the higher level, and there is a falsehood at the lower level. This is the Mayavada philosophy. If you want, you can accept it. Okay? But the other possibility is that there is an absolute reality at the higher level, but as it keeps coming down, it diminishes itself, and the instruments of knowledge which you are seeing are defective. Therefore, you are seeing that total reality, you are seeing it as unreal. I will put it another way. There is a world which is there right from the highest level to the lowest level. The world is real. Okay? At the highest level, Sat Chit Ananda, real. It is manifesting itself in the physical world, mind, life, body. Real. Now, who is looking at this world? Who is looking at this world? There is a consciousness which is looking at the world. Depending at which level you are, the consciousness is using instruments to see that world. Okay? So, at our level, we are using physical senses. Then at the lower level, higher level, we are using subtler senses. At another level, I am using identification. I am using better and better instruments of knowledge. So, it depends on what instruments you are using for seeing the reality. Okay, this is what he is saying. So, if you are using your mind as an instrument for seeing the reality, then you are seeing its nature itself is half real. I will put it another way, then that will become even clearer. Okay, so there is a reality from the infinite to the finite, and the finite can be as small as an atom. Okay, if I want to see the atom, what is the instrument I am going to use? I have to use a microscope. I can't use my eyes. My eyes won't give me that reality. So I have to use a microscope, which is a fit instrument for seeing at that level. Okay? Now, I want to see the largest stars in the universe. Can I use a microscope? No. Can I use my eyes? No. What do I have to use? I have to use a telescope. I have to change the instrument of knowledge. Now it's clear?
Very clear.
So, at our level, we are forced to use our senses, which are defective. It's very obvious that they are defective because the eagle sees much better than our eyes. The dog smells much better than we can. The bats hear sounds that we can't hear. The whales hear sounds that we can't hear. Okay? Then the dogs also hear sounds which we can't hear. So our senses are defective. If your senses are defective, how will what you see be real? It will be defective. If I am using my specs which are cracked, I will see a cracked world. This is the explanation for the denial of Mayavada.
Excellent.
Okay? So, so now that's the second one he is giving you. With this background, you will understand what he is saying. Or there is, we may equally suppose, okay? This is his own theory. The other one was the theory of Mayavada, which if you want you can accept, because you do see it in that way. Or there is, we may equally suppose, an original, supreme or cosmic truth consciousness. When he uses the word truth consciousness, he means the supermind, always. Okay? So, there is a supermind, okay, creative of a true universe. So, what it is creating is true. The universe is creating is true. But with mind acting in that universe as an imperfect consciousness, ignorant, partly knowing, partly not knowing, a consciousness which is by its ignorance or limitation of knowledge, capable of error, misrepresentation, mistaken or misdirected development from the known of uncertain gropings towards the unknown of partial creations and buildings, a constant half position between truth and error, knowledge and nations. The language is very difficult, but what he is saying is exactly what we described. Depending on your instruments of knowledge, you are seeing something. Okay? So, but this ignorance, in fact, proceeds, however stumblingly, upon knowledge and towards knowledge. So, there you are, he is saying this ignorance is a power of the knowledge to hide itself. So, as you keep going higher and higher, the knowledge increases, the ignorance decreases, because there is a gradation. Okay? So, that is what he is saying. But this ignorance in fact proceeds, however stumblingly, upon knowledge and towards knowledge. Upon knowledge and towards knowledge. It is inherently capable of shedding the limitation, the mixture, and can turn by that liberation into truth consciousness, into a power of original knowledge. So, our ignorance can become knowledge because essentially they are the same thing. So, the ignorance can become knowledge. Okay? Our inquiry, so they use the word inquiry, but we can also use the word enquiry. Both are valid. Our inquiry has so far led rather in the second direction. So, Swami is putting it very mildly. He is saying that that's my theory. I am more inclined to the second view rather than the first view. Okay? So, has so far led rather in the second direction. It points towards a conclusion that the nature of our consciousness is not of a character that would justify the hypothesis of a cosmic illusion as the solution of its problem. A problem exists, but it consists in the mixture of knowledge with ignorance in our cognition of self and things. And it is the origin of this imperfection that we have to discover. So, let us look at what he is saying. He is saying that I am not saying there is no problem. There is a problem. Because when you go to the self, you do see the physical world as unreal. But it does not strike you that the instruments of knowledge which you are using at that self are itself defective. So you don't realize that. So you think that this is a reality. Okay, so a problem exists, but it consists in the mixture of knowledge, with ignorance. So we have to see how this mixture is coming. So we have to examine consciousness. What is consciousness? How does it limit itself? In other words, we just now said that ignorance is the power of the knowledge to limit itself. So we have to look at the mechanism by which knowledge is limiting itself into ignorance. We have to see how consciousness is limiting itself into unconsciousness. This is the problem we have to look at, not anything else. Okay, so a problem exists, but it consists in a mixture of knowledge with ignorance in our cognition of self and things. And it is the origin of this imperfection that we have to discover. There is no need of bringing in an original power of illusion, always mysteriously existent in the eternal reality, or else intervening and imposing a world of non-existent forms on a consciousness or superconscience that is forever pure, eternal, absolute. So you can take your pick, he says. If you want to believe the Maya philosophy, you are welcome to do that. But I would rather think that the other thing is more likely. That's what he's saying.
So beautiful.
So the next chapter is reality and the cosmic illusion. Yeah. He has said that we have to examine the relation between knowledge and ignorance, and we have to see how this mixture is coming. That's the next chapter. So reality, absolute reality, but how is it becoming cosmic illusion?
Chapter 6, Reality and the Cosmic Illusion.
The eternal is true. The world is a lie. Okay. This is from Viveka Chudamani. Viveka Chudamani is a masterwork of Shankaracharya. It's a beautiful thing. But this sentence, what he is saying, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. But it is misinterpreted. When Shankara is saying Mithya, he doesn't mean to say absolute unreality. What he means to say is that you are not looking at it the right way. Because I say this because he has been misunderstood. Otherwise, how could he say he accepts all the Upanishads? He accepts the truth of Upanishads, which says that the physical world is nothing. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman. Everything is the Brahman. So how can he say that if he admits cosmic illusion? No, he does not. It is a misinterpretation. Okay, so the eternal is true, the world is a lie. Okay. The next quotation is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The master of Maya creates his world by his Maya, and within it is confined another. One should know his Maya as nature, and the master of nature, and the master of Maya as the great Lord of all. So if you want to use different words, you can say Maya is nature, Prakriti, and the master of Maya is the Purusha, and he is the great Lord of all. The great Lord of all is the third level, Ishvara. Okay? He becomes the Lord of the creation. But as it keeps coming down, there is a hint already here that as it keeps coming down, Purusha also changes its character and Prakriti also changes its character. Okay? Then we go to the next one. The Purusha is all this that is, what has been and what is yet to be. He is the master of immortality, and he is whatever grows by food. Okay? So whatever grows by food is the physical world. So that also is real. Okay. The third one is, the last one is from the Gita. All is the divine being. All is the divine being. Okay. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. That's a quotation from the Gita. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. He is everything that exists. So he has already given you a hint that the world is real, and we'll have to look how it is, how are you seeing it as unreal?
Wonderful.
Okay?
Thank you, Ranga. Namaste, all. We will begin with Chapter 6, Reality and the Cosmic Illusion, next week. Namaste.